The chestnut was not just food. It was the currency that flowed through the veins of the village, the medicine that healed body and soul, the tool that built the home, and the feast that bound neighbors together. In the chestnut groves of Xoán, every custom revolved around the fruit like branches around the trunk. At the San Lucas Fair in Quiroga, the market began at dawn with the smell of smoke from the first frying pans. Women arrived with baskets lined in white linen, roasted chestnuts wrapped in thick wool cloths to keep them warm. Barter was a ritual. A handful of medium chestnuts equaled a skein of hand-spun wool. 2 handfuls, a laying hen with a red crest and lively eyes. 3 handfuls, a broad-bladed knife forged in the Villemer smithy with a cowbone handle carved with initials. A small sack, a meter of raw linen cloth dyed with walnut for winter. A large sack, a day's labor from a worker from dawn to dusk. Men haggled with ancient gestures, open palm to offer, closed fist to refuse, fingers spread to count. The bargaining was slow as the stirring of the pan and always ended with a shared chestnut split in half, the sweetest part offered to the buyer, sealing the deal with a handshake over the hot shell. In the healer's house in Ferreria de Abaixo, the chestnut was the first remedy. 4 dry cough, 3 roasted chestnuts mashed with heather honey, wrapped in cabbage leaf and tied to the chest with linen ribbon, left overnight, and by morning the cough loosened like a shell cracking open. 4 bone aches, dried chestnuts ground with raw garlic and olive oil, heated in a pan until they smelled of warm earth, then wrapped in cloth and applied to joints. 4 fever, infusion of burned shells in spring water drunk warm before sleep, steam rising like forest mist and lowering the heat. 4 wounds, paste of raw grated chestnut with coarse salt applied straight to cuts. The pulp closed the skin as if the fruit remembered bark. Children learned early that the chestnut cured what the doctor could not reach. Nothing was wasted. Shells dried in the sun on wicker racks and stacked by the hearth. The large ones ignited the fire with a snap, the small ones kept it alive all night. Hedgehog spines were gathered in linen sacks, rinsed in river water, and used to stuff mattresses. Sleeping on spines was hard but warm and flea-free. Dried leaves were pressed into bales for cow and pig bedding. The resulting manure was richer, and cows gave creamier milk. Pruned branches became hoe handles if thin, winter firewood if thick. An old chestnut gave a new door every 10 years. The Magosto was the longest night of the year. The threshing floor filled with small bonfires, 1 per family, arranged in a circle like stars around the moon. Every pan was unique. The Garcias had an ashwood handle wrapped in water-soaked rag. The Lopez's was cast iron with a century-old black patina. The Fernandez's had cross-shaped holes so steam rose like prayer. Men stirred while singing ancient verses. Roasted chestnut, on St. Martin's, how good life is with new wine. Women poured young wine from goatskin flasks. Children raced with empty husks turned into spiky toys. Elders told tales of years when chestnuts saved the village from hunger, of trees that spoke on full moon nights, of saints who multiplied chestnuts like loaves. In the village of Xoán du Courel, the chestnut was also a toy. Children carved empty husks with small knives, gave them charcoal eyes, and used them as puppets. Girls sewed dresses of dried leaves onto big chestnuts and paraded them across the floor, singing songs of chestnuts marrying acorns. Elders laughed and remembered doing the same, and thus the custom passed from tiny hands to wrinkled ones. At home, the chestnut was light. Hollow shells were filled with sheep tallow, fitted with hemp wicks, and hung from the ceiling on esparto cords. They burned slowly with a yellow flame that smelled of forest, lighting family supper. 1 large shell lasted an hour. 3 lit were enough to tell a full story before bed. In the grove, the chestnut was boundary. Plots were marked by mossy round stones, and beneath each stone a raw chestnut was buried as an offering to the earth. If someone moved the stone, the chestnut rotted and the nearest tree bore bitter fruit the following year. Thus borders were respected without written laws. In church, the chestnut was offering. On All Saints' Day, every family brought a basket of roasted chestnuts to the altar. The priest blessed them with spring water and laurel sprig, then shared them among the village poor. Leftover shells burned in the temple brazier, smoke rising through the nave like peasant incense. On the road to Santiago, the chestnut was sustenance. Pilgrims carried hand-sewn linen pouches of dried, smoked chestnuts. At each stage they roasted a few over in fires, sharing with fellow walkers. Chestnut was the only food that did not spoil in road sweat, and its toasted scent drew conversations that lasted till dawn. In the forge, the chestnut was fuel. The blacksmith used dried shells to stoke the fire when shaping perforated pans. Heat was steady, spark-free, and the ashes mixed with clay to make refractory bricks that lasted generations. In the garden, the chestnut was fertilizer. Crushed shells scattered among cabbages and turnips. Worms devoured them and left the soil loose and rich. Plants grew taller, leaves greener, and boiled cabbages tasted of chestnut. At weddings, the chestnut was symbol. The bride pocketed a chestnut carved with a cross, the groom one with a heart. At ceremony's end they swapped chestnuts and buried them beneath the new threshold. If they sprouted, the marriage would be fertile. If not, at least they gained a new tree for the grove. At burials, the chestnut was memory. A handful of roasted chestnuts wrapped in linen was left on the grave. The living believed the dead ate them in the next world, and children asked if magostos happened there too. Subscribe to the channel for more medieval stories like this. In the children's school, the chestnut was letter. The teacher carved the alphabet on dried chestnuts. Pupils learned to read by spelling words with the fruits. CHSTNUT. The longest word they formed was magosto, pronounced with pride. In the basket weaver's workshop, the chestnut was model. Harvest baskets were woven round like the fruit, bottoms reinforced for weight. The weaver tested each by tossing in a dozen chestnuts. If it held, it was ready for the grove. In the kitchen, the chestnut was versatility. Boiled in goat milk it made baby pap, roasted with rosemary, hair side dish, dried and ground, flour for winter cakes, smoked over laurel, turkey stuffing for Christmas. Every recipe passed from grandmother to mother to daughter, written in memory, not on paper. In the woods, the chestnut kept company with other trees. Walnuts grew at the grove's edge, nuts falling among husks like distant cousins. Hazels formed living hedges against wind. Oaks shaded young chestnuts. The forest was family, and the chestnut its most generous member. In memory, the chestnut was time. Elders counted years by magostos, the wolf magosto, when snow came in October, the flood magosto, when the river took the floor, the peace magosto, when the feudal lord forgave debts. Each magosto was a chapter in the village history, written in burned shells and songs. And remember, if you want to learn more, I've left a book in the description that dives deeper. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss a video.